Allora, intanto rinnoviamo il nostro saluto e il benvenuto a tutti coloro che
In
sono
the
qui
meantime,
presenti, ma anche tutti quelli che già
we
da ieri hanno cominciato a
welcome
seguirci
all
sulle
the
dirette
people
streaming che stiamo
that are
facendo,
following us
con la
here, and
trasmissione anche in
also
inglese e
we
spagnolo
welcome
per i
all the
tanti
people who
presenti
are
che ci hanno chiesto di
following
poter
us
partecipare oggi
by live
a questo convegno,
streaming.
che sono molto distanti a
And
parlarmi,
so
però ho la fortuna di
we
avere qui
have
presente alcune
so many
delegazioni
people
che
from
vengono
all
da
the
varie
world
parti del mondo che ci fanno
following us on live
l'onore
stream, but we also have here so many delegations from all around the world
fuori.
that made us the big honor to have them participate here in living
Giovanni, per
present
favore, avvisa il
with us.
servizio, di che escludano l'audio fuori, questo è l'audio interno del santuario, se no sentiamo tutti gli avvisi interni. Abbiamo un po' di problemi con gli audio, ma lo risolveremo quando avremo un santuario nuovo. Risolveremo anche il problema degli audio. Dicevo, stavo ringraziando tutte le persone che sono presenti, anche
So
quelle lontane, le delegazioni
I
che sono
was
qui invece
I want
dal
to thank
Brasile,
all the
dagli Stati
people
Uniti
that are
d'America,
here in present, the
dall'Africa,
delegation from Brazil, from
stanno arrivando
Africa,
adesso,
from
da Panama
US,
City, dove abbiamo
from
iniziato questo
Panama
primo convegno nel
City.
2013 e lì
In
conoscemmo un po' la
Panama,
vita
we
di
did the
Rosa
very
Mystica
first conference
in
in
terra,
2013, and
anche
so
tutti
we
coloro che
met
adesso
Rosa
fanno
Mystica,
proprio.
and
Saluto di nuovo
also the
tutti,
United
lascio
Kingdom
la parola
delegation
a
and
Riccardo,
everyone that
iniziamo
is
questa terza
here
sessione del
with us.
convegno.
I don't remember
Stringeremo un po',
everyone.
adesso lo
I
vi spiego
apologize
come,
for
perché
that, but I
l'orario
want to
comincia in
thank everyone.
ritardo e quindi siccome
So
poi ci saranno tutti gli atti scritti del
now
convegno,
I will
magari una parte
let
verrà ristretta
Riccardo
e potete
speak.
poi
We are a
leggere,
bit in late,
consultare
so
negli atti
we
del
might
convegno, che ripeto
shorten
saranno consultabili
some
potete
of
leggere in
the
italiano,
speeches,
inglese e
but
spagnolo.
we will publish everything that was prepared.
Buongiorno a
So,
tutti e ben ritrovati.
please, Riccardo,
Se vediamo il programma
good
adesso
morning, everyone, and
era
welcome.
previsto
Welcome to this
devozioni
conference.
particolari che Maria Rosa Mystica
So,
ha chiesto a
in
Montichiari.
our schedule,
Ne avrebbe parlato Riccardo Caniato, che è il suo nome.
I was supposed to
Però
speak about the
dopo
particular
aver elencato
devotion
quello che la
that
Madonna
Maria
chiede
Rosa
qui,
Mystica
è
requested here
previsto
in Montichiari.
che Padre
But
Florian, che
after
è
my
seduto e che
speech,
siede alla mia sinistra,
we hadn't scheduled
ci un
for
pochino, no,
Father
una
Florian,
valutazione del valore
which is
teologico
here
di queste
on my left,
devozioni
to
e che ci
speak
mostri come il
about
messaggio di
the
Montichiari sia
theological value of
anche
those
legato
devotions,
al
and
deposito della fede,
so
della
to show
tradizione
us
della Chiesa.
how the theological
Abbiamo visto che
message
Dio,
of Montichiari is
attraverso il
deeply
giornalino del
connected
santuario, attraverso i
to the
diari
theological
che
history of
pubblica,
church.
già da tempo, no, cerca
Um,
di raccontare
Through
quello che
the
la
little
Madonna ha
newspaper
detto qui,
that the Shrine
quello che ci
publishes,
chiede qui
I am publishing, I
attraverso
am
la campagna.
trying
Ho pensato che siccome
to
adesso davvero non c'è tempo e Padre Florian
tell
poi deve
what
rientrare a
the
Roma,
Virgin is
faccio
telling
una
us.
breve introduzione sul
So,
significato delle devozioni
I
e
decided to
sulle
do just a
devozioni
very
principali
short
che la
introduction
Madonna
to
vuole.
the principal
Poi daremo
devotion
subito la
that the
parola.
Virgin
Se
wants,
avremo
and
tempo oggi
then
pomeriggio,
I will
magari
let
entrerò nel merito
Father
di una
Florian
devozione
speak.
che voteremo
If
per
we
prima.
have time this
Altrimenti,
afternoon,
appunto,
I will do my
la troverete
entire speech, I mean
pubblicata
entire study.
in altre forme
Otherwise, you
pubblicate
will read it in the
questi tipi
book
di
about the
approfondimenti.
conference. So,
Dopo vi presento padre Florian, però ecco, con il termine devozione
okay.
si
With the
indica
term
un sentimento
devotion,
profondo
we describe a profound feeling of love,
di attaccamento,
veneration,
che può essere
attachment
verso Dio,
to God,
ma può essere anche verso una persona
to a person,
o semplicemente
to
anche un'idea, un
simply
ideale che
to an
ci
idea
appassiona.
or a big
Può generarsi in un contesto
ideal.
religioso,
This can
con la dedizione a Dio,
grow in a religion,
no? A un
in a
santo,
religious
agli angeli,
context through
ma anche
the
in
dedication to
ambito
God,
umano,
to the Virgin, to the
attraverso il
Saint, but
dovere
also
o la
in
fede
an
verso una persona,
human context
il marito,
through
la sposa,
duty or affection
per i suoi figli,
towards a loved one.
oppure la fedeltà a un
Our
ideale che ci
devotion can
che
also be the loyalty to an
una devozione però
ideal
queste
that will
caratteristiche
love and in which we believe. But the main characteristic of devotion is that the devotion is so strong and compelling that it is always manifested publicly. This can occur by concrete act of worship, of prayers, of fidelity, of loyalty. So, by extension, by the term devotions, we also describe the specific prayers and codified acts that are connected to a specific cult. In the context of Marian apparition, it's the Virgin herself who asks for specific devotion. That usually happens with a given visit to a place and to a title by which the Virgin manifests herself. For instance, in Lourdes, Immaculate Conception, or elsewhere, Advocate, Mediatrix. And she asks for instance, the building of a temple, the placement of a specific image, and prayer and gestures and acts that can deepen that name, that title that she gave us on that occasion. For example, here in Montichiari, Our Lady comes here as Mother of the Universal Church, and she asks for a shrine with 5 domes, each dome representing a different continent. Also here, as in the apparition of Rudibach, she asked for a medal to be minted, exactly as Our Lady of Mount Carmel had done in 1251 with St. Simon's Stock, with the scapular. I tell you that because in Lourdes, in Montichiari, to Simone Stock, the Virgin is the Virgin. She's the mother of Jesus, and she's close to every generation of men and women that are passing on his earth. We have a specific description of this medal in the book that Monsignor Galbiati wrote about Montichiari. Quoting, the apparition of May 19, 1907 has a special meaning. The Blessed Virgin appeared with the usual white mantle with the 3 roses, then stretching both arms, the Blessed Virgin showed a round golden medal on the palm of her hands. On the right, Pierina saw the figure of Mary on the top of the stairs, surrounded by roses. And all around the edge of the medal, there was the writing Rose, and on the left, Mystic. On the back, Pierina could see a very beautiful church with 5 domes and 3 large doors. The Virgin spoke about this medal, and she said, I wish a medal to be minted like this one. The Lord has sent me to this place to bring the gift of His love, the gift of the source of grace, and also the gift of the medal of my maternal love. Today, I am here to make this medal known. This is a gift of universal love, and my son will carry it on their hearts wherever they go. I promise to my children all of my protection. This is the hour in which the most one is trying to annihilate, to destroy so much as possible the veneration that is due to me. We have to note that Maria Rosa Mystica linked this medal to the Rosary. Pierina spoke about that, and she says, a rosary said with devotion, it's a call for any intercession. It's the contemplation of the mysteries of the faith. But the Madonna didn't stop just here. Also, the saint, Sister Santa Maria Crocifissa di Rosa, who also appeared to Pierina and who was instructing Pierina in the proper theological Catholic faith, because Pierina was a very humble person. And so, Santa Maria Crocifissa di Rosa was explaining the wishes of the Virgin to Pierina. So here, Mary communicated 4 main devotions. She asked for 4 main devotions. The so-called Sunday in Albis and the ritual of the water at the Fountain of Grace. In that devotion, Mary established a connection, a deep connection with the feast of the Divine Mercy that St. John Paul II proclaimed. Then the devotion to Maria Rosa Mystica that has his peak in the feast of July 13. The World Union of Reparatory Communion that we will celebrate tomorrow on October 13, and the Hour of Grace on December 8. Before passing the word to Father Florian, I just want to tell you that to come accosting to the devotion of the merchant, of the mercy of Mary, if we go close to the devotion, believing that Our Lady appeared here, then we will have a heart free and open to do what she is asking to us today. The heart of us, our heart, so will be the same heart of Pierina. Yesterday we had a very beautiful speech about the spirituality of Pierina. And we talk about Pierina was never scared of being alone, isolated, despised. People could try to take away everything from her, but she had Jesus. And so, whatever was happening, she was praying. So, and in every act of her life, in church or doing church at home, she was in prayer and in communion to Jesus. So, she was always happy, even in the worst mortification, even when she had stigmatas and she was in pain. She was always happy. Today, and during the Mass, we read St. Paul's, and so St. Paul says, the word of God is not in chains. So I am bearing everything for all the people to reach the salvation of Christ, along with the joy of Jesus. And Pierina said the same thing, and those messages are for our salvation. This word
salvezza è in Cristo Gesù.
deserve
Se moriamo
faith.
con Lui,
Which
con
word?
Lui anche
The
vivremo.
salvation
Se
is Jesus.
perseveriamo, con Lui
If we
anche
die
regneremo.
in Jesus, we will live in
Se lo
Jesus.
rinneghiamo,
If
Lui
we
pure ci rinnegherà.
persevere
Se
in
siamo
Jesus,
infedeli, Lui rimane
we
fedele.
will stay in
Perché
Jesus.
non può
If you are
rinnegare
faithful
se
to
stesso,
Jesus,
vedete?
He will
Non
be
può rinnegare se
faithful to
stesso, è
us
eterno e quindi è
because He cannot
fedeltà
deny
lo rinnegherà.
Himself. And
Con questo
so
io
His
vi
loyalty
lascio
will last
a
forever.
le
And
riflessioni di Padre Florian.
so now I let you
Sento
to
presentarvi così
the reflection of Father
una
Florian.
commissione teologica.
I know Father Florian because we work
Lui disse
together
sempre,
into a
docente
theological
emerito di
commission.
Mariologia. Dice, io
And
un po' lo
he always says, I am a
sono arrivato
professor emeritus
al termine
of
del mio compito
Mariologist.
professionale. Invece
So he says,
Gesù
I am
si è sempre
at the end
professionista
of my professional task. But with Jesus, you're always
Lui ha insegnato
working.
Mariologia all'università.
And he taught Mariology at the university. And he was an excellent Mariologist.
E come si fa a essere un grande Mariologista?
How
Mi sono
can someone
chiesto
become a
quando
great
lui,
Mariologist?
ascoltandolo, no? Quando parla di
I ask myself this,
io penso che per
listening to
essere un
him.
grande mariologo
And
bisogna
so I
avere
think
la Madonna.
to be a great
Alla Maria del
Mariologist,
cielo.
you have to love
Guardare a
Mary.
lei
You
con
love
la
the
tenerezza
Mother
e
of
la
Heaven
conoscenza
and
che
look
si deve
upon
alla
her
propria mamma.
with the same tenderness and
Impararsi
gratitude
bene
and love
quando
that
si parla
one
di lei
has
agli altri
to
per mettere in mostra
his own mother.
tutte le qualità,
And we will show all the virtues, the qualities, the beauty that she has.
Questo fa il padre Florian
This
che ho
is what
incontrato
Father
io,
Florian does.
e questo per me
And
fa di lui
this
un grande
is what
mariologo.
makes him a great Mariologist.
Ed ecco che penso che sia un onore per tutti lasciare a lui sottolineare nelle devozioni volute qui
It's
da Maria Rosa
an
Mystica
honor for us to have him
gli
highlight
aspetti comuni
the
nel deposito della fede,
theological aspect of the devotion
insegnamenti dei
asked
padri, il
here
magistero
by Our Lady.
del messaggio di Montichiari.
Thank you so much, Riccardo, and thank to all the people that are participating actively or just, participating in live stream to this conference. This is not about knowledge, because knowledge can't satisfy our soul. Love satisfies our soul. When I do my very first lesson of Mariology at the university, I always say, this is not because you will know more than the other people about Mary. But this is about, this is all about love. So, if at the end of this class you will have a deep knowledge, of course, but if at the end of the class you will love Mary more, I will be deeply satisfied, because that's my goal. So, this is a conference that has to inform us, but also to form a heart in us, who is a heart really devoted to Mary. About Mary, I say nunquam sati. So, about Mary, we will never talk enough about Mary. Because in the mission of Mary, we have so many content, so many things to see, that this is an endless task. When someone enters in this academical field and you have to look for the bibliography, and one might be surprised because there are so many words and so many places are books are being written about the Virgin. But if we go in the Gospel, so we can really say that about Mary, Dunquam satis, because we can always be sad saying something new about Mary. So we spoke a lot here about Mary, and also we spoke a lot about Mystica. What that means? One time, when we talk about mystic, we think about Saint Joseph of Cupertino, who, when he was praying, he was starting levitating, and he was like flying around the room. And so this is our idea of a mystic person. A mystic, according to the Greek word, it comes from the verb muo. Saint Paul talks about the mysterium, something which is not completely clear. It's like having a tent in front of us and we cannot see behind. So we can see just a part, like a scenography in a theater. We can see a part of the stage, but if the tent closes, we cannot see anything. And so we are slowly opening the tent. I believe that this is not like this is the last step of the spirituality. Before we have ascetic life, then we have mystic life. And we think that few people can arrive to the mystic experience. But that depends. There is a very peculiar thing. If we say that we cannot speak enough about Mary, that means that the mystery of the mystic Mary is not completely well known. We still have to study her mission. So, we are trying to understand the mystery of Christ. The proof that we don't know the mystery of Christ fully is that this will be completely revealed to us when we will be in paradise. And that way, the cycle of the mystery of Christ will be closed. Maria is connected to Christ. She's united in Christ, and through this union, she participates of the mystery of Christ. I am sorry for going back and forth between different themes, but this is to explain more what I'm saying. You probably have seen at least one time the Sixtine Chapel. The Sixtine Chapel, the painting of the Sixtine Chapel, and the main painting to me that synthesized all the theology that went into the painting of the Sixtine Chapel is the part of Michelangelo, the frescoes, that shows Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve, because this is the history of salvation. The history of salvation is on earth since the creation. That is the moment in which they are taking the apple, the only that says exactly, that says that what Eve took was an apple. We have the word apple just in one translation. What says the serpent to Eve? Take this fruit. And Eve said, I'm taking it. Okay, this is a joke which is not translated because I'm taking it and me la prendo. It sounds like me la prendo. That means I'm taking it, and apple, it's mela in Italian. So it's a joke. He's joking because we don't know if it was an apple. It's just the tradition. But we can go into the same mission of Jesus. And when is the mission of Jesus starting? From the creation. Because with the creation, we start a new history of salvation. God didn't let Adam and Eve alone. God says, we will have another Eve. And she, along with Jesus, will save the world for real. So, if a mystery is something hidden to us, and that something that slowly it's shown to us. So, in that painting, we are supposed to find Mary too. Probably you saw the painting so many times, but maybe we didn't think that this painting has in reality a deeply theological meaning. So, God says, we are creating man. It doesn't say, I am creating man. It's a plural. That means that it's an action of the Trinity. So, if the Trinity is starting the history of salvation, so the Trinity is there. But where is Mary? The arm of the Father in the painting is showing the creation. The finger of the hand of God. There is a little hand with a finger that points to the figures, and this is the hand of God pointing to the creation. One time we used to sing in church a song, Veni Creatus, and we sang about the finger of the hand of God. So, if we do something, we will have the Father present. So, this is difficult, but it's also a metaphysical meaning. So, in the hand, we have the Father and the Holy Spirit. But where is Mary? Because she has to be at the beginning of salvation. Where is she? And so, God Godfather, with one hand, is creating, and with the other hand, he is holding a womanly figure. We have two different interpretations. One is the personification of the Word of God. I mean, as la parola di Dio, parola is female word, a female noun in Latin. So this female figure is the Word of God. But for some other people, that figure represents Mary. Mary is there because at the beginning of the salvation, Mary is there. Mary was at the beginning as there is. This was kind of a divagation, but I think this is important to think about it when we talk about mystic, because we can encounter a different meaning that we usually, in our humble comprehension, we can have of what a mystic is. In that sense, Mary is beyond what we can't comprehend about a mystic. And because of that, we need to try to imply what is the meaning of Rosa Mystica for us. Maybe not everyone agrees with me on that, but still. What can I tell you so briefly? So, the form of the traditional cult, I decided to shorten it. To me, I have an entire book here, and that book says all the conversations that Pierina had with the Virgin and with Saint Mary Crucifixa di Rosa, but especially with the Virgin. And it's all in this book, and you can read it. And I want to compliment you, Riccardo, because this book will always be the most important source to understand what the role of Our Lady is. I will just give you some brief thoughts. We are here in particular to speak about the connection between the tradition, the theological tradition of the Church, and the messages of Pierina. There is a profound link, and in this perspective, all the words of the diary of Pierina are, in this perspective. I don't want to enter in, the dogmas and, big theological issues. This is not the goal of the apparition. For example, also Lourdes, when the Virgin says, I am the Immaculate Conception, at that time, we were very close to the proclamation of the dogma of the Immaculate Conception. So we are tempted to interpret this apparition as a dogmatic one. But no, we don't have to interpret the apparition on the dogma with the dogma lens. We are not making a history of the apparition. But it is interesting to recall that since the 4th century after Christ, we have apparition and sources that talk about the cult of Mary, the devotions to Mary. So, the apparition of the Virgin in Montichiari is not an independent one. Is, of course, there is some new aspect, there is some difference, because of course this apparition wasn't just for Pierina but for everyone, so this has an aspect of novelty, but these apparitions are connecting like in a river to all the other apparitions of the Virgin in the church, and the Virgin appeared in all the most important moment in history, in the most decisive moment. Why Mary decided to appear right at that moment? It's difficult for us to understand the depth of that. But this is in the history of salvation. But there is a meaning in the time and place of all the apparition. It is usually a particular, a peculiar moment in a historical and cultural reality. And it goes inside this chain of apparition. Like, for instance, the one of Lourdes. When had the Virgin appeared in Guadalupe, for instance? It was so much more difficult now. Now we can hear on the news, oh, the Virgin appeared here and there, and we know about all the other apparitions. And so we can be enlightened. But at the time of the Guadalupe apparition, there wasn't any other, source about that. Maybe some of the missionaries that are working in Mexico are remembering they knew something about other apparition, but not there. In Spain, in Extremadura, there is a shrine dedicated to the Virgin of Guadalupe, and this was made 300 years before the apparition of Guadalupe in Mexico. But why Mary appeared? Because that was a very difficult moment for the evangelization of that country. The missionaries were working, but they didn't see the fruit of the work. It was a hard work. They were doing all that they could, but it was difficult. This is not just my opinion, okay? This is an historical fact. In that moment, it was very difficult to accept the Christian religion for the people. And when the missionary felt this difficulty in announcing the gospel, and so the results were very, poor, they very scarce. So, Maria decided to appear to Santiago and told him something that it's repeating here in Montichiari. She told me, the mother, not just the mother of Juan Diego, but the mother of all the people. So, he saw this woman with this clock and many symbols that give us the possibility to understand what was behind this apparition. But from the apparition of Maria, something new started. I know that not everyone believes in this apparition in Guadalupe. And from that moment, the conversion were were beginning in a miraculous way, to the point that because we can never know what the results of an apparition could be. We cannot know, also here in Montichiari. But when I came so many years ago, there was just a very tiny little chapel with some people assisting to Mass. I celebrated the Mass. It was like 10 years ago, something like this. And today, when I saw all these people here for Mary, all this Marian fervor, I understood that the presence of Mary really means something, and she wants something from us. It was very exciting for me to see that. But since the very first Mass until today, this is to me a grace, a great grace from Our Lady. And Our Lady wants to spread the gospel. As in Guadalupe, she is starting a movement of people. Of course, the Spanish missionaries went in Guadalupe from all South America, exactly as it is happening here in Montichiari. For what I know, like for instance, I go in Rome, I speak in a parish, I talk about Rosa Mystica, and people ask me, and who is this? And so it's not so known. When we saw all the people at Mass and all the delegation, and so we understand that it's something that transcends our humanity, because it is rationally impossible to understand how the word of Rosa Mystica spread like an oil stain all around South America. Same in Guadalupe, all the friars, Jesuits, Franciscans, and so on, they were communicating between themselves. And from the apparition of Guadalupe, it was like exploding this big movement of conversion, this big trend on conversions. There is a book, a very interesting book, called La Morenita. This was right to have us to understand how the presence of Mary, like here, I know that this apparition in Montichiari, like the one in Guadalupe, will create a new Marian spirituality. Surely, so many of us will not see that because we cannot know, and our Father has His own times. So I might not see it in my human life. But so, coming back to this book was made by a Reformed church member. We need to bring some Protestant here to Rosa Mystica to show them how a Protestant can be transformed in a missionary. I apologize for the word Protestant, but this is exactly what the Father is saying. So, This man, okay, in all the world, you can find images of the Virgin of Guadalupe. The actions of Mary are not dependent on what we think. It depends on our love. So, it will be like this. This is a new form. This is a new shape of the spirituality. And we have to discover this new form of evangelization. This is why I am doing this comparison to the Virgin of Guadalupe, because we are here comparing this two big, important, new form of evangelization. The apparition of Montichiari are part of the so-called sensible apparitions. The apparition, they can be like imagination, they can be like intellectual, they can be a vision, like seeing with eyes, a sight, like in Pierina. She was seeing in life, the Virgin. What would you think if all of a sudden, in your room, in your house, the Virgin will appear? What could you think? There is also that prayer that says imitation of Christ, about the grace of the apparitions. But we have to distinguish the request that the Virgin asked to the seer. Like, for instance, to create every seer or alleged seer. But in this case about Pierina, I will say seer because I am convinced. You see those two men on my left and my right, and they have to work that much to the canonization of Pierina. They have to. I worked for a while at the Congregation of the Saints. And how is a saint made? Yes, of course you need a lot of money. Yes, also this. But this is not the important criteria. I believe that this apparition, and you will see it better than me. And so you will see the fruits of this apparition here. For instance, when she says, with your tongue, you make a cross on the floor with your tongue on the floor. And this is Riccardo, when the Virgin in the apparition 1947, when she went down the stair and she asked Pierina, when I put my feet at the end of the stair, when I did put my feet, she asked Pierina to make this gesture of cleaning the floor with the tongue. This is a purification gesture to purify the floor. This is the same gesture that was asked to Bernadette in Lourdes. So, when Bernadette started and the Virgin said, go see the water. And So Bernadette thought to go near to the river, but the Virgin said no. And showed her another place. And she tried to dig, and there was just mud. But those things are repeating in some apparition. We have some gestures, some requests that are repeating in the apparition. You have probably heard about Mother Speranza in Colle Valenza. The Virgin asked her to dig in a specific place, and she digs, and after a while, nothing is coming, and so the bishop said, "Okay, Mother, don't worry, let it go." But she thought that this was a request of the Virgin, and they were keep digging, and so they arrived at the depth of 100 meters. And so the other people were saying, "Please, Mother Speranza, don't be so stubborn. There is no water here." But she was stubborn, because that was the word of the Virgin. And when they arrived at 100, they found the spring. And so there is still, you go in Colle Valenza, and there is this water. And so you see, there are some requests, some things that repeat themselves. The Virgin. Okay, in the second part, a healthy and solid theology can offer this devotion with the help of a credible. We have to be wary about of some form of popular devotion who cannot be truly faithful, because sometimes people don't have the discernment to understand, to distinguish between the true and false devotions. Like, for instance, in south of Italy, they think more with their heart than with their brain. And so we have there some form, some manifestation. That is why we have to do surveillance. That is why we had also to investigate that much about Montichiari, because we have so many false apparitions also. That means we don't just have to follow our heart, but also uses our mind. Like, for instance, in Trevigliano, you probably heard about that. This is a devotion. First, the person that started the devotion in Trevigliano. Oh, now we are talking about a scam about Trevigliano. Because we investigate and we know that this is a scam. That is why we need criteria to distinguish between true and false apparition, because our heart is prone to go in a shrine and to open our heart. But we don't have to worry about that. When first I came here in Fontanelle, I didn't see any special thing. Maybe some person could have had some very peculiar manifestation that can, change the way of seeing the apparition. This could happen, but like for instance, I went a lot also in Medjugorje, and I realized this. In all the apparitions, we have all kind of person. There is someone that just want to criticize everything, and this criticize everything is just an excuse to don't accept a reality. I remember what the great theologist Suarez in the 16th century said. The piety, the devotions, without truth is lacking. And the truth without devotion is empty. Because we need some gesture. We need the devotion to satisfy what we think, to fulfill our thoughts. This is very clear. This is very clear here in the house of Pierina. It is important so to analyze how theology can fit into the Marian devotion. And we do that also to do a concrete, real help to this devotion and apparition. And so often is asked by the Virgin herself, especially when the Virgin asks for a specific devotion. Now, this Marian reality here in Montichiari and Fontanelli is becoming bigger, and we have to be attentive. We have to pay attention. We have to understand how we have to inform the Marian devotion. The most important proposal of the Marian devotion can be summarized by the way in which Mary decided to present herself to Pierina, to the world. She decided to present herself with an image for all the world. This is not just a local apparition, but it was very clear since the beginning that it was a worldwide apparition meant for the world. So, this is a universal mission. We have to do a theological support, which I was supposed to do, but I didn't because my time is ending. The most important meaning are the roses. The roses, they have a very deeper meaning than we thought. It's not like the 3 roses are just an aesthetical symbol, like a decoration. It's not just like a beautiful, a pretty picture. There is something more. The roses, with the different colors, they are related to a healthy and profound theology. White rose, the prayer. The prayer goes into the transcendence. We remember the transfigurations of Jesus. There is a profound life of prayer and contemplation. And when we have that, we have transcendence. What is the real prayer? The prayer is a conversation between 2 hearts, not just some sporadic thing, but is the red rose is the sacrifice. This is the color of the blood and of the martyrdom. The offer of offering our life as Jesus did with every ounce of his blood. This is the sacrifice to repair all the offenses made by the consecrated people that live in sin. This was all told to Pierina by the Virgin. So we have the white rose is beyond us, and also the red rose. We are beyond the beauty of the roses. This is the presence of Christ. Christ, we can recognize him also in his blood. And the yellow robe, the penance, the atonement, the changement, the transformation, the reparation, the reparation of the offenses for the priests that betray their mission and to obtain the conversions. In that meaning, we have a very positive meaning. The colors of the three roses are also related to mystical and ascetic spiritual life, but also with deep theological content like sacrifice, transcendence, Eucharist, life offer, sin, forgiveness, atonement. This is all that stands behind the deep meaning of the roses. These three roses are an invitation to pray for transformation, for changement, for sanctification of all us consecrated priests and for all the consecrated people. So, we have to inform, the roses have to inform our devotions. We have to, especially when we study the spirituality, this part of theology goes in full with the devotional aspect. Behind the devotions, that, of course, we have all this devotion through all the diaries of Pierina, and we can see that very clearly. But this is important. As often, the dogmatic part refuse the apparitions because they can be dangerous, because they are not necessary. That is true. Apparitions are not necessary to the salvation. But I am sorry, I wanted to study, to explain more this, but I'm sorry I didn't do that. But this, we have to put the apparition into the theology. You can find this speech. That's the problem with the teachers and professors. We speak too much. Okay. An applause to Father Florian.
Hanno messo due chiacchieroni insieme, nessuno dei due è riuscito a fare il suo intervento.
We like to talk that too much, and so no one of us could did his full intervention. But at the end of this, are you more curious about what is happening? Do you love the Virgin more? If yes, this workshop worked, and this lesson of Father Florian worked. The only thing that I want to say is like, the devotion are not a pretty picture. Also, the three roses, they are not just a pretty picture. It's a life plan. What God says to us is to live the devotion. If you live the devotion with faith, they will transform your heart. So, we now have the pause, and we will be back in the afternoon with the intervention of Father McNamara. We say goodbye to Father Florian, and thank you, everyone. I wish that at the end of this conference, you will not say, oh, how much did I learn on Mary? But I hope you will say, I am a son of Mary. I wish to you, at the end of this conference, to say, I am a son of Mary. Thank you, everyone. See you at 15.